Hey guys, my name is Montana. I'm a student here at JTech, and today I'm going to be explaining the Evap system, which consists of the PCV valve, catalytic converter, the EGR, the Evap purge valve, and the Evap vent valve. So in this video, I will be showing you where they are and telling you what they do. So the first component I'm going to talk about is the PCV valve right here. You can see it has a valve in it that opens and closes when there's pressure in it because of blow-by gases that flow right back into the throttle body, which goes then into the intake and back in the combustion chamber. So those blow-by gases can be recycled and recombusted. So the few things I want to talk about the PCV valve. It stops release of the hydrocarbons from the crankcase, which means it helps those blow-by gases not vent into the atmosphere but go back in and be reused, so the engine won't be running so hot and create hydrocarbons or NOx gas. The next thing is, when you have a malfunctioning PCV valve, it could include oil leaks, oil in the air filter housing, and high or low unstable idle. So the idle could be jumpy, it could be rough, it could be idling really high, and that could indicate that you have a bad PCV valve which isn't opening and closing properly, which could cause problems. And eventually you could get leaks in the valve cover or in the intake for having too much pressure from the crankcase blow-by gases. So PCV stands for positive crankcase ventilation. So that's the name. Again, it helps with blow-by gases so it doesn't cause problems in the combustion chamber. So the next thing I'm going to be talking about is the EGR, which is right there. It has a tube going to the exhaust to recycle the exhaust fumes. The term for the EGR stands for exhaust gas recirculation. It controls the release of oxides and nitrogen by controlling combustion temperature. So it uses inert gases that can't be used again to fill up some space in the combustion chamber, so it doesn't overheat or run hot and produce high NOx gases from combusting too hot. Some of the symptoms for it malfunctioning include failing state emission tests, your warning indicator light, or your mill light, or your check engine light to be on. It can make the car hesitate, stall, or have a rough idle. And then you'll hear a pinging noise on acceleration, which also can indicate that your EGR is not functioning properly. This one is a vacuum operated solenoid. So as you can see, you have some vacuum lines right here running into the solenoid, which will power the valve in here to open and close it. And it's also got a sensor on it, so it knows if it's not operating correctly. So that is the EGR. As you can see, again, this pipe runs down to the exhaust manifold and screws into it, so it can recycle those exhaust gases, so it won't run so hot. And that's the EGR. So the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is the Evap system purge valve. It's mounted up here. It's vacuum operated, as you can see, the vacuum line attached to it. Then it has a line coming from the Evap system to purge it. And this is only part of the Evap system. This isn't the Evap system. So this is a part of it. So what this does is it makes sure that the system purges out it uses it to depressurize the system slowly. Well, not slowly. Like when it opens, it depressurizes the system. When it closes, it allows it to keep pressure and build pressure, so it can, so the engine can operate efficiently and properly. And if it's stuck closed, you'll have too much pressure in the tank, and you won't really be able to fill up because you'll have so much pressure, and it'll start causing problems where your engine doesn't run right. It'll throw a check engine light, and it'll start causing a lot of problems and make the engine not run efficiently. And that is the purge valve. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the Evap canister, which this is the whole entire canister. It has a cover over it to protect it. One of these are the Evap canister, and the other one's the vent valve. So this tube coming off right here, that is the vent tube, because it runs up and actually this is the tube that runs to the purge valve. This one's the one that runs to the gas tank to vent the fumes. So some of the things the Evap system controls is it stops the release of hydrocarbons from the fuel tank. So it doesn't vent it directly to the atmosphere. It comes through here and gets like filtered, and the hydrocarbons get stuck in there, and the clean air gets filtered out. Some symptoms of a malfunctioning Evap system. It includes failing state emission test, which happens with the same thing as the EGR. The warning light, your check engine light will come on, and you'll have a fuel odor, which it could possibly cause you bad fuel economy, which will make it'll just cause some problems for your engine. Like the bad fuel economy will make you will make the engine run rich. Then you'll have a check engine light for an O2 sensor. They're operating correctly, and then if it's not venting properly, or if it's stuck open or closed, you won't be able to fill the tank because there will be too much pressure. So that is the Evap system. Okay. So right now we're going to talk about the catalytic converters. So here's one right in front of me. This is 1, that's 2, and then on the other side we have 3 and 4. So there's 4 cats on this because it's a V8 engine. It has a dual exhaust. Some of the things that the Evap system does for the vehicle, or the catalytic converter, is it reduces hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, oxygen, nitrogen emissions. So the stuff that doesn't combust in the engine comes to these, and yes, it's harmful for the catalytic converter, but it could combust and damage the catalytic converter in here if there's too much. But it makes sure you don't have straight hydrocarbons or carbon dioxide or fuel running straight up the tailpipe. Some of the symptoms for a malfunctioning catalytic converter is failing state emission test, again, which is the same for the EGR and the Evap system. Warning indicator, your check engine light. It reduced power. So let's say you were trying to accelerate and pass somebody, you won't be able to because it could be restricted, and you might not be able to start it because it's clogged. It's so clogged that nothing can pass through, and it has too much back pressure, which is not allowing the engine to operate properly. So that is the catalytic converter. So guys, the next thing I'm going to show you, and the last thing is, I pulled up the information for this car. I looked up, and I'm at live data right now. The car isn't running. It's not able to run since it's being worked on right now, but we're allowed to look at the information. As you can see, there's no EGR fault. The Evap emissions canister purge vent, there's no fault in it. There's no fault in the short circuit. The fuel cap indicator light is off. The barometric pressure is 31.28 inches of mercury. There's no misfire detected at any speed. The intake air temperature is 32 degrees. As you see, it just goes through volts, misfire throttle position, desired idle RPM. So it wants to idle at 1,344 RPMs. Now if we go to the bottom here, we want to see loop status. That's for the exhaust system. As you can see, it's open. So what that means is the computer does not know what the actual the status is of the exhaust system, because it's not being able to communicate with each O2 sensor. So it's not able to say it's in closed loop or open loop, because it cannot detect what the actual problem is. So if this said closed, it means it's running properly, it's communicating properly, and it's able to close the loop, and there wouldn't be any problems. But since it's open, it can't communicate with it. So you just look at some other things here. We have operational state is 127. Let's see. And then this is just a lot of information. And then most of it, it'll tell you exactly what's the problem, but most of it you want when the vehicle is running. So this is the emissions data for a 2003 Mercury Grand Marquis with a 460. So guys, I explained the whole entire emissions system. I went over the PCV valve, the positive crankcase ventilation valve, the exhaust gas recirculation, the EGR. I went over the catalytic converters and the evaporative emissions system, the charcoal canister, purge valve, and the vent valve. So that is the whole emission systems on this Grand Marquis, and that is how, if you needed to, you could find them all, know what they do, and how you'd be able to check the live data and see if something's either stuck open or closed, not operating properly, or there's too much pressure. So guys, that is how you check the emission systems on this Grand Marquis.